The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with frantic voices. Representatives from dozens of star systems filled the chamber, their alien forms a vibrant sea of shapes and colors. At the center stood Ambassador Talon, his pale blue skin damp. With fear and exhaustion, "Honored members," he began, his voice cracking as he addressed the assembly following the emergency alarm. "The Krex Dominion has assembled a war fleet. 800 ships are on course for our system. They will arrive in 72 hours?" A wave of murmurs swept through the room. The Krex were infamous conquerors, leaving nothing but devastation in their path. Entire civilizations had vanished under their brutal campaigns. "What military assets do the Valorants possess?" demanded Counselor Brix, her insectoid features clicking with agitation. 14 patrol ships and some mining vessels, Talon admitted, his voice trembling. "We are a peaceful people. We have no weapons of war. Our colonies house 12 billion lives." The weight of his words settled heavily over the chamber. Everyone present understood the implications. The Krex didn't take prisoners they enslaved. Survivors stripped worlds bare and left desolation in their wake. "The Alteran Federation can offer 6 destroyers," announced Representative Voss reluctantly. "The Century Alliance adds to cruisers and a supply ship," another voice added. One by one, the galaxy's powers made their pledges. Yet the tally was pitiful. 23 ships against 800. The Assembly knew this was a futile effort, a gesture of shameful inadequacy. Talon's heart sank further. "There must be someone else," he pleaded. "Some power we haven't reached out to yet." Silence enveloped the room. The major civilizations had spoken. The smaller ones had nothing left to give but sympathy. "What about the humans?" A voice called from the back. The room turned to Sub-Counselor Drew, a minor representative from a border system. A tense quiet followed. Representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. "The humans?" Counselor Brix hissed, her mandibles twitching. "They've barely had 50 years of contact. Their world is violent. A Class 12 death world," Voss added. "Hurricanes crushing gravity, toxic atmospheres. It breeds dangerous beings." "They're few in number," the Century delegate interjected, "perhaps 5 billion across their colonies. What could they possibly contribute?" Talon felt his last shred of hope fading. He'd heard whispers of humanity's strange bipeds from a world called Earth. Their home was barely habitable by galactic standards. And the humans themselves were unnerving, intense, resourceful, and unsettling in their gaze. "They have ships," Drew insisted. "I've seen them at the border. Strange designs, but they look ... capable." "Border patrol craft," Brix scoffed. What could they achieve against the Krex? Talon had stopped listening. His mind was filled with images of his homeworld, of the billions who would perish if no help came. "Contact them," he said suddenly. The chamber fell silent. "Contact the humans," he repeated louder. "If they have even one ship, it's more than we have now. I will beg if I must." Brix hesitated, then asked the room, "Does anyone have a channel to the human government?" Drew replied quietly, "There's a human vessel at Station Omega-7 on a diplomatic mission." "Send the message," Talon commanded. "Tell them we need help. Tell them 12 billion lives depend on it." Across the vast distance of space, Talon's desperate plea reached the human ship Harmony. On its bridge, Captain Lena Rivera read the tactical report accompanying the request. 800 ships. 12 billion lives at risk. "Captain," her communications officer said, "they're asking for any help we can provide. Even one ship." Rivera scanned the data. The Krex had left destruction in their wake for decades, and intelligence warned of an even larger campaign. She made her decision. "Send them a reply," Rivera ordered. "What should I tell them we're sending?" Rivera's gaze shifted too. "The distant stars marking human space, where powerful fleets patrolled and shipyards built warships that could shake the galaxy. Tell them we'll handle it," she said firmly. The message reached the Galactic Council. Talon read it aloud, his voice trembling with gratitude. The chamber of the Galactic Council echoed with astonished murmurs. Representatives shifted in their seats, exchanging uneasy glances. "The humans will help?" Counselor Brix finally broke the silence, her mandibles clicking in disbelief. "What are they sending?" Voss asked, leaning forward. Talon read the message again, his voice steady but uncertain. "They said, we'll handle it. No specifics. Probably a patrol squadron," Voss suggested. 5 or 6 ships at most? Better than nothing, Talon replied, though privately he doubted whether even human ships could turn the tide. Stories of their resilience and adaptability were known. But numbers ruled space combat. As the council session continued, the tone shifted. Representatives from major powers coordinated their token fleets into a desperate defensive strategy. Talon sent word back to Valoran Prime, assuring his people that help was on the way. On Valoran, families huddled around communication screens, listening to their ambassador's hopeful message. Children asked if the humans would save them. Parents nodded, offering comfort they didn't feel, promising a hope they weren't sure existed. Meanwhile, in the dark void between stars, the Krex fleet advanced. The swarm of 800 warships moved like a plague of metal locusts, their commanders confident this would be yet another easy conquest. The Krex had destroyed countless civilizations before. Valoran would simply be the next forgotten casualty. None of them had ever heard of humans. None of them were prepared for what was coming. Admiral Jack Hayes stood in the war room beneath Luna Station, staring at the holographic display. The Valoran system glimmered in 3 dimensions, with the Krex fleet represented by a menacing red swarm. "Show me the intelligence on the Krex," Hayes ordered. The display shifted, revealing grim images, burned worlds, enslaved populations, and systematic annihilation. The Krex left nothing behind but ash and despair. "They've been expanding for 50 years, Colonel Park said grimly. "No one stopped them. The Galactic Council calls this a minor crisis," General Torres added, shaking his head. "They've scraped together 23 ships. 23 against 800. Hayes tightened his jaw. "What do they think? This is a drill?" He turned back to the hologram. The numbers weren't just devastating, they were a death sentence. 12 billion innocent lives hung in the balance, trapped on a world that had never known war. "The Valorans are peaceful," Torres continued. "No military tradition, no defenses. They've never fought a war in their history," Hayes studied. The tactical data again. The Krex doctrine was clear. Overwhelming numbers, ruthless tactics, and no regard for casualties. They expected their enemies to collapse under pressure. Hayes asked. Admiral Chen stepped forward. "Third Fleet is at full readiness. They completed war games last month. All ships are supplied and standing by." Hayes considered the option. The Third Fleet was humanity's rapid response force, designed for emergencies exactly like this. "How many ships?" 600 vessels, sir, Chen answered, including the Indomitable and her battle group. The room fell silent. The Indomitable, humanity's most powerful warship, was a symbol of their unparalleled engineering. Deploying the Third Fleet meant revealing strength the galaxy had never seen. "It's overkill," Torres said, breaking the silence. "But the Krex have been unchecked for decades." "Overkill is the point," Hayes replied. "Deploy the bait." Third Fleet. Full deployment. The war room exploded into controlled chaos. Officers issued commands, signals rippled through human space, and the silent machinery of war roared to life. Across the Sol system, shipyards pivoted from civilian construction to military production in an instant. Massive docks opened, revealing vessels that had existed only in classified files. The Third Fleet was humanity's ace, a force so advanced it was kept hidden from the galaxy. "Humans," the intelligence officer said, his voice tinged with both curiosity and disbelief. Corvin's smile faltered for a moment before returning, sharper and more predatory. "So, the primitives have sent their ships. 12 vessels. Quaint. They must think their novelty will intimidate us." On board the Indomitable, Captain Lisa Morgan monitored the deployment of her fleet. The Valoran system loomed ahead, the faint energy signatures of Krex vessels flickering on her tactical. "Display what's their formation, tactical," her officer responded swiftly, Standard Krex doctrine, Captain. A wide dispersal optimized for overwhelming their opponents in waves. Morgan's lips curled into a thin smile. They're treating this like any other conquest. That's their first mistake. Captain, her communications officer, interrupted. We're receiving a transmission from the Krex flagship. They're demanding our immediate surrender and evacuation of Valoran space. Morgan's smile vanished. Open a channel. She stood, her voice cold and resolute as she addressed the Krex admiral. This is Captain Lisa Morgan of the United Earth Navy Dreadnought, Indomitable. You are ordered to power down your weapons, cease hostilities, and prepare to be boarded. Failure to comply will result in your complete destruction. Corvin's laughter echoed through his bridge as he listened to the human's message. Such arrogance, he said to his officers. Broadcast our response. The image of Admiral Corvain appeared on the Indomitable's bridge display, his sharp teeth bared in a grin. This is Admiral Corvain of the Krex Dominion. Your threats are amusing, human. Prepare to die with your feeble allies. Close the channel, Morgan. Ordered tactical status? Enemy fleet is beginning to advance, Captain, the tactical officer reported. They're committing to an encirclement strategy. Perfect, Morgan said, her voice steady. Fleet-wide orders. Engage at will. Show them what humanity can do. The Third Fleet moved as one, each ship a predator in its own right. Fighters and bombers launched from carriers in perfect formation, weaving through space with deadly precision. The Indomitable led the charge, its massive guns already locking onto Krex targets. The first volley from the humans was a shock. Coordinated strikes of kinetic railgun slugs and directed energy beams pierced through Krex shields and holes. Entire sections of Krex ships disintegrated under the concentrated fire. Corvin's bridge shook as reports flooded in. Admiral, we've lost 7 ships already. What? Corvain snarled, turning to his tactical officer. How is that possible? They've barely begun to fight. Their weapons are unprecedented, the officer stammered. The energy densities are orders of magnitude beyond anything we've encountered. Their targeting systems are another explosion rocked the Krex flagship. Across the battlefield, human ships moved with calculated efficiency. The Indomitable's heavy guns fired in devastating salvos, each shot taking out multiple Krex vessels. Surrounding dreadnoughts supported with flanking strikes, while destroyers darted through gaps in the enemy formation, surgically disabling key vessels. The Indomitable's bridge remained calm amid the chaos. Status on enemy flagship, Morgan asked. Severely damaged, her tactical officer replied. Their main weapons are offline, and their shielding is failing. Morgan nodded. Focus fire on their command ship. Let's send a message. The Indomitable's main gun fired, a single shot slicing through the flagship's hull. Explosions rippled across the Destroyer of Worlds as its reactors overloaded, reducing the once mighty vessel to a cloud of debris. Admiral Corvin's final moments were filled with disbelief as the human fleet annihilated his forces. The Krex had never known fear, but in those last moments, they understood what they had unleashed. Within hours, the Krex fleet was shattered. Those who attempted to retreat were hunted down by human ships that moved faster than any the Krex had ever faced. On Valoran Prime, the skies lit up as the Third Fleet destroyed the invaders. For the first time in their history, the Valoran people cheered for a war they had not fought. Humanity had arrived, and the galaxy would never be the same. This is Admiral Hayes of the human Third Fleet, the voice repeated, calm yet commanding. Krex forces, you are guilty of crimes against innocent civilians. Your campaign of terror ends here. Power down your weapons, surrender immediately, and you will be shown mercy. Refuse and you will be destroyed. On board the Destroyer of Worlds, Admiral Corvain gripped the edges of his command console. His claws trembled, not with rage, but with something far more alien to him, fear. Respond, Corvin barked, his voice desperate. Tell them they have no chance against the might of the Krex Dominion? The communications officer hesitated before replying, Admiral, their fleet, ... Their fleet is larger than anything we've faced. If we engage, Corvin's fist slammed into the console. Silence. We do not cower before primitives. Prepare to fire. Target their largest vessel. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Lisa Morgan, observed the Krex fleet's movements with icy precision. "They're aiming for us," her tactical officer noted. "Of course they are," Morgan replied. "Let them. We'll show them what happens when you poke a sleeping giant." "All ships are in position, Captain," another officer reported. Morgan nodded. "Admiral Hayes, the fleet stands ready." Hayes's voice echoed through the command channel. "Begin Operation Eclipse. No quarter." The Third Fleet moved as one, a tidal wave of destruction bearing down on the Krex formation. The Indomitable led the charge, its massive guns lighting up space with bursts of energy that obliterated anything in their path. The Krex fired back with everything they had: energy beams, missiles, and plasma torpedoes. But the human fleet's advanced shields absorbed the attacks with minimal damage. "This is impossible," Corvain shouted as ship after ship in his fleet exploded. "How are they countering our weapons?" "Admiral," the tactical officer stammered, "their technology is generations ahead of ours." "We can't." Corvin's furious roar cut him off. "No excuses. Redirect all fire to their flagship. We'll bring down the beast and demoralize the rest." But the Indomitable was no ordinary flagship. Designed as the pinnacle of human engineering, it was built to withstand attacks from entire fleets. Its armor, forged in the crucibles of Earth's deepest gravity wells, repelled even the Krex's strongest weapons. Morgan's voice was cold and steady. "Focus fire on their command ships. Remove their leadership, and the rest will crumble." The Indomitable's main guns charged, the ship's reactor pouring unimaginable energy into a single devastating shot. When the weapon fired, it was as if a star had been born. The beam tore through the destroyer of worlds, cutting it in half. Secondary explosions rippled through the Krex flagship as its reactors went critical. In moments, the once mighty command vessel was reduced to nothing but debris. Across the battlefield, Krex ships began to falter. Without centralized leadership, their formations broke, and chaos spread through their ranks. "Admiral Hayes," a communications officer reported, "the Krex are retreating. Many of their ships are powering down and broadcasting surrender signals." "Understood," Hayes replied. His voice carried the weight of history. "No mercy for those who run. Pursue and neutralize any ship attempting to flee. Those who surrender will be escorted to Valor in space for judgment." The battle ended. As quickly as it began, in less than an hour, the once-dreaded Krex war fleet had been annihilated. But of the original 800 ships, fewer than 50 remained, all disabled or surrendering. The Valorans, who had watched in awe from their homeworld, erupted into celebration. For the first time in their history, they witnessed hope born from despair. In the aftermath, Admiral Hayes addressed the Galactic Council in a historic transmission. "This is what happens when the innocent are threatened," he declared. "Humanity will not stand by while others are oppressed. Let this be a warning to all who think they can rule through fear. We are here, and we will not back down." The galaxy would never forget the day the Krex dominion fell. It was the day a Deathworld species rose to the stars and proved that their strength was more than just survival. It was justice. The Krex had built their empire on brute force, subjugating weaker civilizations with overwhelming numbers and unyielding aggression. But they had never faced a species that matched and exceeded their capacity for war. Human ships did not merely engage, they hunted. Crews operated with precision born from centuries of survival on a world that punished weakness. They targeted weak points with relentless efficiency, exploiting every tactical opening with weapons that turned theory into devastation. Admiral Corrin's bridge was chaos. Officers shouted conflicting reports, damage alarms screamed, and the deck trembled under the strain of repeated impacts. "Admiral, their flagship isn't even dented," his tactical officer cried. Claws dug into the edge of his console. "Impossible. No ship can withstand this firepower." "They can," the officer whispered, staring at the display. "And they are." On the Indomitable, Captain Morgan kept her tone steady as the ship absorbed the full might of the Krex fleet's desperate assault. "Status report, Shields." At 70%, her operations officer replied, "No critical damage. Weapon systems are fully operational." Morgan nodded. "Good. Let's remind them who they're dealing with. The dreadnought's broadside cannons unleashed another punishing salvo. This time, they targeted the remnants of the Krex command group. Ships that had once terrorized the galaxy disintegrated in moments, their crews vaporized before they could even scream. Across the battlefield, human destroyers and cruisers continued their deadly dance. Commander Blake's relentless darted through the debris field like a predator on the hunt, dispatching crippled Krex vessels with precision strikes. Sector 9 is clear, Blake reported, moving to intercept reinforcements in Sector 3. His ship accelerated, weaving through the chaos with practiced ease. The Krex fleet was in shambles, their formations broken, their morale shattered. Admiral Corrin is broadcasting a distress signal, Blake's communications officer reported. Blake's laugh was grim. Let them call for help. No one's coming. Corrin's desperation turned to panic as his fleet dwindled. All ships retreat, he screamed. Fall back to hyperspace. But the Krex discovered that even retreat was not an option. Human ships had anticipated this move, cutting off every escape route with perfect precision. The hunters had become the hunted, says Admiral Hayes. The calm, authoritative voice echoed across all channels. Your fleet is defeated. Surrender immediately, and you will be treated according to galactic law. Refuse, and face annihilation. Corrin collapsed into his command chair. His mind raced, searching for an option that didn't exist. Is the once proud Krex Dominion had been reduced to smoldering wreckage in a single engagement. Sir. His tactical officer whispered, the humans have. They've won. The battlefield grew quiet as the last Krex ships powered down their weapons and raised signals of surrender across the Valoran system. Cheers erupted from civilians who had watched in fear and awe as the human fleet systematically dismantled their oppressors. On the Indomitable, Captain Morgan surveyed the wreckage, with satisfaction tempered by solemnity. All ships cease fire. Begin rescue and recovery operations. Let's show them what makes us human, as the Third Fleet shifted to its new mission. Admiral Hayes transmitted a final message to the Galactic Council. Let this serve as a lesson to all who believe they can prey upon the defenseless. Humanity does not seek war, but we will not tolerate injustice. The Krex Dominion has fallen, and a new era begins today. The galaxy will remember the Krex invasion had been a foregone conclusion of slaughter in waiting. But the Deathworlders from Earth had rewritten the script, proving that even the mightiest empires could fall. It was not just a victory, it was a statement. The predators of the galaxy had met their Matsu had declined. No one would have blamed you. The Krex Dominion was unstoppable. We prepared ourselves for annihilation. Instead, you sent ... this. He gestured to the holographic replay where the Indomitable delivered its final devastating salvo. He paused, his gaze sweeping the chamber. The humans did not just save Valoran Prime. They reminded us what it means to stand against tyranny. They reminded us of courage. Counselor Brix, who had been one of the most vocal critics of humanity, spoke up, her mandibles clicking nervously. This ... capability, this power. Should we fear them? Talon straightened, his voice steady now. Fear them? No. Respect them, yes. Humans may be from a death world, but they fought to preserve life ours, not theirs. They could have left us to our fate. They chose otherwise. On Valoran Prime, the skies were no longer filled with death, but with hope. The human fleet orbited above like silent guardians, their presence a tangible reminder that the galaxy's balance of power had shifted. Captain Morgan stood on the Indomitable's bridge overseeing the recovery efforts. The Krex prisoners were being processed, and the Valoran civilians were being reassured that the threat had passed. A young Valoran diplomat approached her, his green eyes wide with awe. Captain, he stammered, on behalf of my people, thank you. We owe you our lives. Morgan offered a rare smile. Just doing our job. But remember, this victory wasn't just ours, it was yours too. You had the courage to ask for help, and you stood strong even when the odds were against you. Admiral Hayes delivered his report to Earth Command, concluding with a simple statement: the galaxy knows now what we're capable of. but they'll also know we fight to protect, not to conquer. Humanity has made its entrance onto the galactic stage. Let's ensure it's remembered for the right reasons. In the days that followed, the galaxy buzzed with the news of the battle. Species across the stars debated what it meant for their future. Some whispered of fear, others of hope. One thing was clear: humanity was no longer an unknown fringe species. They were a force to be reckoned with, the species forged in the crucible of their deadly homeworld. Tempered by compassion and driven by an unyielding will to protect the innocent, the galaxy had learned a lesson that day. Underestimating humanity was a mistake no one would make again. But we don't destroy without reason. Mercy is our strength, not our weakness. Corrin stared at the Marine, trying to comprehend the mindset of these strange beings, who had annihilated his fleet yet offered him food and life. Mercy, he repeated the word foreign on his tongue. The Marine nodded. Mercy, you might want to think about it while you're here. In the Galactic Council chamber, the debate raged on. Representatives from all corners of the galaxy sought answers to the same question: what did humanity's rise mean for the established order? Counselor Brix, still skeptical, voiced her concerns. If humans can field such a fleet, what's to stop them from becoming the next Krex Dominion? The galaxy cannot afford another empire built on domination. Sub-Counselor Drew shook his head. You misunderstand them. The humans had every opportunity to conquer. Valoran Primand, they didn't. They could have enslaved the Krex prisoners, they didn't. If they wanted to dominate the galaxy, they wouldn't have waited until now. Representative Voss nodded. In agreement, their actions speak louder than their words. They fight with precision, but they don't revel in destruction. They saved billions without asking for anything in return. Admiral Hayes, still present via hologram, interjected. We understand your concerns, but humanity's philosophy is simple. We fight to protect, not to conquer. The lessons of Earth have taught us that survival requires cooperation, not domination. If you doubt our intentions, let our actions continue to speak for themselves. Us! The Third Fleet prepared to return to human space. Captain Morgan stood on the bridge of the Indomitable. The Krex prisoners had been transferred to secure facilities, and the Valorans were expressing their gratitude in every way imaginable. Her communications officer approached. Captain, we've received another message from the Galactic Council. They're requesting a formal alliance with humanity to defend against future threats. Morgan smiled faintly. An alliance, huh? Guess they're finally seeing the bigger picture. The officer nodded. What should we tell them? Morgan considered her response for a moment before replying. Tell them we'll consider it, but only if it's a partnership of equals. Humanity didn't come this far to trade one kind of domination for another. Back on Earth, the battle's outcome reverberated across the planet. The news spread like wildfire, filling humans with pride and trepidation. The galaxy had learned of their strength, but humanity knew that with power came responsibility. In the halls of Earth Command, leaders discussed the future. We've proven we can defend ourselves, one official said, but the galaxy will be watching us closely now. We can't afford to misstep. Admiral Hayes nodded. Agreed. We've shown them what we're capable of, but now we need to show them who we truly are. Not conquerors, but protectors. Not tyrants, but allies. For the first time in millennia, the galaxy's ancient powers faced a new reality. Humanity, the species from the Deathworld, had stepped onto the galactic stage. Their actions would shape the future of countless civilizations, but one thing was certain.